Welcome back. 41 minutes after the hour. Happening today, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy will outline the impact of the federal government shutdown on air travel. He's planning to hold a news conference with air traffic controllers at Newark Liberty International Airport, a major airline hub on the East Coast. The FAA is already plagued with staff shortages and an archaic aviation system. According to the DOT contingency plan, about 11,000 employees will be furloughed, none of whom are controllers, so they will continue to work without a paycheck. Joining me now is former air traffic controller Todd Yeary. You know, there are just so many questions centered on the shutdown and how it might affect travel. We know that people can expect longer lines as they move through airports, but what do you expect Secretary Duffy to actually talk about today?
Well, good morning to you, Nick. That's the $64,000 question. I think the big issue is whether or not the Secretary is going to speak to the lingering and persistent issues within the air traffic system and how this shutdown is affecting the upgrade and the necessary implementation to equipment and staffing shortages that have been plaguing the system actually for decades. So I'll be listening to hear what the Secretary has to say about making sure that we stay on schedule and stay on task to make sure that the politics of the budget issues do not disrupt the essential function of the national airspace system to the overall global economy.
The last government shutdown was back in 2018. It lasted for about 35 days, and several air traffic controllers called out sick in protest. Do you foresee something like that happening again this time around?
Well, I hope not. What I have noticed is that the leadership of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, the Air Traffic Controller Union, has been very clear about the commitment of the air traffic control workforce to making sure that we still have the safest air traffic system in the world, even in the middle of a shutdown. But it also raises the urgency of this moment to make sure that the elected officials do their job and pass a responsible budget that does not undermine nor undercut the necessary safety improvements that are required in this moment to make the system better. And so I'm looking to see whether or not the secretary is really going to speak to how do we make sure that the controllers are not impacted? How do we make sure that we don't start adding more pressure to 6-day-a-week, 10-hour days that are already the reality in the current posture of the agency, and begin to make some serious improvements to the staffing and the equipment that's necessary to perform an essential safety, national defense, and economic policy function in air traffic control.
Well, Mr. Yeary, the obvious question is, if AA essential workers refuse to go to work, don't you think that'll get the attention of Congress to possibly act more quickly?
Well, it might get the attention of Congress, but it will draw some adverse attention to the career. My time during my employment with the FAA was one that we were seriously committed. We had shutdowns during my time there. Some of them lingered much longer than we anticipated. But the commitment to the essential mission of air traffic control in the FAA has always been foremost in the minds of the controllers. So I would be shocked if you see any widespread or rampant disruption based on sick outs or call outs, because that really undermines the integrity of the argument in this moment, that we need to improve the system and not get trapped in the politics of the moment. Let's do what we need to do, but also make sure that everybody else does what they need to do so that we can assume our appropriate responsibility to keep the flying public safe.
As Todd Yeary, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Good to be with you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.